I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. Richard Feynman. Good evening, everybody. So this one I didn't really have planned, but I think it's kind of useful. And these are my top 5, I would say. I'm sure there are plenty of other topics if you talked about plain truth that you would probably you could probably put up there. And hey, if you want, definitely go ahead and leave a chat or a comment and say, hey, when I talk about this, oh man. But yeah, it's not even, and I'm not even talking about stating one position. It's just stating the position that there's a possibility that it's not this. And let me go ahead and get started with it. All right, so number 5, that the Holocaust might not have happened. And this could be almost number 1, really. I mean, it's pretty big, just to have any sense of doubt. But then anyone who has actually made legitimate remarks about certain things, they've been censored. And let me first say, this blacklist doesn't necessarily have to be a formal one, because I don't know excuse me, if there's any groups or authorities, whatever, that actually have a blacklist of people and are actually implementing it and using it. But as far as informal blacklisting goes, in the definition that someone who is blacklisted is someone who is typically discriminated against, refused employment, or censored. And we do see that with a lot of people where, hey, this guy is saying that the Holocaust might not have happened. It's not even that they're not saying that it didn't happen. There's a possibility it didn't happen because, hey, let's look at these details. And so you get just a lot of attack. You are already considered anti-Semite, a racist, or whatever it is. And even if you're not, you're automatically considered that. So number 5, I would say, saying that the Holocaust might not have happened is a big one. And the Plain Truth is joining us. How's it going, Plain Truth?
Hello, what ho?
So what are your thoughts? Do you think that's a pretty good one for number 5?
Definitely needs to be in the top 5 for sure. Yeah.
And
I mean,
okay,
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, typically the safe way of phrasing that is that what we've been told isn't, or what really happened isn't what we've been told, rather than just being an outright denier.
Yeah, Holocaust denier. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's always the safe bet to hedge your bets that way.
Yeah, and it's not even that you can't even ask questions about it or just entertain the thought. It is just, you're just kind of shut down on that conversation already.
Well, the whole interesting thing when I first started getting into conspiracies, Flat Earth was my very first one. So, I mean, I remember hearing George Bush mentioning the fact that we weren't going to entertain conspiracy about 9/11, but I had no categories for it, and so it didn't really sink in. And I so back in 2017 when flat Earth came my way, and I was already questioning certain things in my tradition as a Christian, I think that my pump was primed to be ready for it. And as I started just going down deeper and deeper into the hole, the thing that came to my mind was that reasonable doubt is the mother of conspiracy. So if I don't have anything to cause me to question the Holocaust, then I'm going to take the mainstream narrative. I mean, there's just no reason for me to doubt it. So whenever you would say, if you would ever walk up to somebody and go, "Hey man, you think the Holocaust happened?" They're like, "What are you talking about? Of course it happened." You know, but if there's something that you can bring up in terms of questioning, like, "Hey man, did you ever hear about the bombing of Dresden?" "No, what's that?" "Oh yeah, that's what happened after Germany surrendered, and the Allied forces totally just destroyed main cities in Germany." And then you start to open the door to question other aspects of World War II. Then that can possibly,
Yeah. And what sucks is, for me, I grew up with a lot of World War II movies and stories, and I mean, to this day, even probably my favorite World War II story is, oh gosh, where are those guys? It was a Band of Brothers. I mean, it's there's so many World War II movies I enjoy, even the first person shooter games, but uh, yeah, it's hard to, especially when a lot of this seems to be propagated through Hollywood in conjunction with the government. It's hard to even say. I mean, it's hard to just take the possibility that we've been lied to. But that's we're kind of jumping ahead, and let's just move on to number 4 real quick. Oh, okay. So number 4, and you just kind of mentioned it, is that 9/11 didn't happen the way the official story says it did. And this one isn't that bad because it's just since 9/11, so many people have been talking about it and investigating it, and there's been so many more people who have been who have credentials, and it seems like credentials matter to a lot of people, especially the general public, that they're just kind of speaking out about, hey, the official story and investigation done by the government itself didn't seem to really do it justice, and there's just so many holes to it. And I think now, and when people know, people realize that the lead up to this was a lead up to the Iraq War, where George W. Bush and crew said, that there are weapons of mass destruction, and a lot of people were pretty much hesitant about that. And to this day, a lot of alternative media journalists would still regard that as a fake story that was pulled by the government and propaganda mainstream media to get the United States into war and invade Iraq. And so even though this is, I guess, not probably right now, not as bad as the Holocaust didn't happen, it's still, it was pretty bad. And once you're lumped into that 9/11 didn't happen the way that the official story was told to have happened, you're automatically blacklisted in informally, and who knows if formally, about just, hey, this guy is like a 9/11 truther, and they have these terms for everything. What are your thoughts? Hey, you're muted if you want to unmute. Oh.
Yeah. I had a thought, and then I was making a left-hand turn, and I forgot what I was going to say. But
that's all right. If you don't have anything, but
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are in terms of the whole occult background to whether or not the Twin Towers were set up from the beginning to be taken down?
That's a hard one. I mean, there is a conspiracy theory that a lot of this has been planned by high level Freemasons back in the 1800s. That's tough to say. I mean, the thing is, we haven't seen any documentation on it. It's just mostly kind of like a soft, just the hidden in plain sight within like TV shows and movies. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, who look into conspiracy theories, just have watched some of those shows, and I don't know. It's tough to say because what I want to tell people is that like there is, and let me go and switch it over. Alt B, I think, yeah. All right. Oops. Let's move that over to here, and I think I've got not bookmarks. Operation Northwoods. If people aren't familiar with it, and anyone could read it, is Joint Chief of Staffs released it, and it's dated 13th of March 1962, which is the idea of faking plane crashing in the United States and deaths, and blame it on Cuba in order to invade Cuba. So the idea was out there for quite a long while. So if people think, they wouldn't have even thought of doing this. Well, they have thought of doing this, and it was like 38 years ahead of its time. But as far as if they're planning on doing it with the Twin Towers, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's go back, and number 7. Number 3. I think I was going backwards. Mass shootings could be psyops. So this is a huge one. This is a big one that people just get really animosity towards people, where you're just entertaining the thought that mass shootings could be psyops. And here's the thing that really gets me. Number 5, the Holocaust, thinking that the Holocaust might not have happened. Number 4, that 9/11 might not have happened. Number 3, mass shootings could be psyops. That if it was faked, that means there really weren't real people who have died, or at least the numbers of who died is a little bit more exaggerated. For example, Operation Northwoods, they didn't plan to actually have people in the airplanes when they crashed. They'd be full of dummies, etc. So they wouldn't have actually had people die, but they lump in the people who are on the planes, etc., as people who died during 9/11. But as far as we know, the people who are in the buildings, they died, but those could have been exaggerated as well. But the whole point is, hey, if it was fake, that means a lot of these people never really died. It's just an exaggerated story, so the government can go ahead and do certain things without impunity from the public. But anyways, just to get into like why would the government do this, is the government has been doing things like creating psyops. They have psyop job listings in the army, but they've been doing psyops for a long time. They've admitted it. They first denied it with COINTELPRO. They've released that, yeah, they did do a lot of psyops and infiltration and all this other stuff, just to influence the American public. And not only that, I've even been reading recently and showing people that Robert Perry of Consortium News was tracing back until it stopped over what's his name? Who was before George H.W. Bush as president? Why am I forgetting his name? He was the actor.
Reagan.
Oh yeah, President Reagan. That tracing it back to there, then that there's just documentation that there's just been utilizing psyops on the American people in order to influence policies, whether it's domestic or foreign. And they had a certain term for it called perception management. And this was this and you know, I'm pretty sure you traced it back that it was very similar to what COINTELPRO had, but because a lot of stuff that COINTELPRO had was just infiltrating these organizations that are opposing some type of political or government, like say war, like Vietnam War and things like that, and they would just commit violence within these organizations that are peaceful, and then the American and tell people that look how violent this organization is. We need to shut down this domestic terrorist cell type of thing, when they're the ones that are actually doing that stuff and making these peaceful organizations look violent. And so the idea that the whole idea that like there are psyops going on within the United States, we actually employ it on foreign countries, but they wouldn't do it in the U.S. even though they have done it in the U.S. with perception management and COINTELPRO. It just, to me, I think it's just a weird one. And if you ask anyone about mass shoot, if they go, "What, you think all mass shootings are psyops?" Or, and they would probably use the wrong term like false flags. But I would ask them, "Do you think all mass shootings aren't ever and never have been where there's been one that was a psyop?" And they would probably say no. And if they said yes, then I don't know what to say to that. I mean, it's like they'll admit that the government lies and does some screwy things. They'll admit that there's been that they've engaged in COINTELPRO, and they hid that they were doing that early on, but then they revealed, yeah, they were doing that, and they stopped back in the 72 or something. And then there's more released that there's stuff going on as far as like you do have psychological operations going on, but that they're just only doing it on foreign soil. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we look at the bigger picture with what we call false flags, I don't think it's a stretch to argue to something that would be considerably smaller, either in terms of the scale or in terms of the reason for carrying it out. But I would probably say that this topic for me is the one that I haven't looked into with as much detail as others.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just think that whenever you just entertain the thought or question, you just get attacked pretty big, and they'll probably, you know, the ad hominem attacks, they're probably going, "Oh, you're probably a gun nut, aren't you?" You know, that's just the first assumption. And here's the thing: when the whole blacklisting, the informal part of it, you know, is this aggression towards you. They already have names for it that people. There's just an assumption about you that something's not right about you, just because you entertain the thought and that you question. All right. So that's number 3. When we'll move on to number 2. And number 2 is that the moon landings could have been a hoax. And I'm pretty sure you know what number 1's going to be, but let's not spoil it. But yeah, it all starts with moon landings could have been a hoax. Not necessarily that moon landings are a hoax, just to entertain the thought that, hey, it could have been a hoax. Even then, you are very much ridiculed that, you know, how could you even think such a thing? I mean, we went. I mean, so again, I would say I would love to hear your introduction to this. Yeah. So Aaron Moorfield, in the description box, there is a link to Zoom. It just makes it easier if you can find it, but I'll find it for you and get it to you. Just give me a second here. All right. While I'm doing that, do you want to go ahead and give me your thoughts on that?
On the moon landing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two ways of approaching it are scientifically in terms of, coming at it from a flat Earth position. If we wanted to argue the reality of space, that would be one thing, and then the other one would be, I think, the evidence that we were presented with. I guess you could argue that it's an argument from incredulity, that I can't believe that the LEM was something that could make it to the moon's surface and do what we were told that it did. I was watching this one NASA footage where they showed the LEM going back up to meet up with Michael Collins, and it looked like the nose cone of the LEM met back with Michael Collins's craft, and it looked like an hourglass. So each, the LEM unit and the Michael Collins unit had a body, and then they both went down to a particular point of contact at, if you know what I'm saying, they came down at an angle together so that it looks like an hourglass. And I was looking at that, I was thinking, well, how did they get from the LEM to Michael Collins? Because there wasn't a walkway there. The top of the LEM didn't have as far as I know, it didn't look like it didn't have a hatch. So, just two things. I would say the footage and the images that we were given, I think are reasonable doubt, and then just the nature of our world, and the reality of space is another avenue that you could approach the topic with.
Yeah. I don't know. I think another approach that a lot of people have been questioning is like, why haven't we gone back? And just that, why is, for me, it's like, we went there, we went to the moon. No one has died en route to the moon or coming back from the moon. And there's a lot of dangers associated with that even the astronomers say. And we landed on the moon 5 out of 5 times. 12 people have landed on the moon, I think 12 or 24, and 12 people have at least orbited the moon and came back, and it was perfect. I mean, there was one hitch with Apollo 13, but as far as traveling to the moon and coming back, it always went pitch perfect. They even played around on their rovers, and just there's always, and the fact that they lost all their telemetry data, they destroyed it, that they destroyed the original tapes of all the photos and videos, and it, like they have these stories that they can't reproduce the rocket ships that they had before, because they're just one and done, and but no engineer. I mean, there's just engineers that are just so good back then, they can't even reproduce. The current engineers can't even reproduce the things that they were doing back in the 60s. I mean, that's just another standpoint. But just to entertain the thought again, you're called a moon hoaxer, or you're automatically pretty much called a flat earther, even though you still think the globe, the earth is a globe. People who will call you a flat earther if you just think that the moon landing probably didn't happen, and you're not even saying for certain that it did or didn't happen, and just how certain, especially the media, handle people who are famous, like Steph Curry, the NBA basketball player who's on the Golden State Warriors, probably one of the best point guards, shooting point guards ever. And he mentioned on just a really kind of small podcast that, I don't think we landed on the moon. And then the media had an uproar. NASA contacted him saying, "Hey, come here. We'll show you." a bunch of stuff, and next thing you know, he's out there apologizing for that remark and saying that yeah, we landed on the moon. All right, Aaron, what are your thoughts? You want to give anything in regard to this
I
one?
want to do a mic check. Can you hear me, Mr.
Yep,
Kim?
I hear you. You don't have to call me Mr. Kim. Just call me Abon.
Ebon. All right. Yeah, I'm just listening. Man, spaghetti of topics, right? Between Earth being a globe and right now, but earlier we're talking about, psyops and stuff that happens actually on what they call a globe. It's I have a question. You don't have to answer it, but what if there was a good reason to create a globe? Okay? I have no more to say.
Yeah.
Talk. See what you think. What if there was a good reason to create a globe? Yeah, I'm a flatty. I'm with y'all. But what if there was a good reason to create that mathematical structure of a globe, which leads back into psyops? Like, if you can control what you create, and you can basically the people on it, you can control them. Why wouldn't you create it, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, that's somewhere we could have to go deeper on it, because let me just go ahead and skip to the number one reason where if you're just talking about the topic, you could be blacklisted, formally or informally, and that is the shape of the Earth may not be a globe, and we've all been there, we've all been through it, and just that. Like, I don't know either way if it's the Earth or a globe. That's why I say it. Or at least I don't have enough proof to show anybody, or to even prove it to myself. I mean, there's natural.
But what I'm saying is I want to combine the two. I want to combine the two between the legal aspect. We're talking about psyops, government, all this crap, and then the supernatural thing of shape.
Mm-hmm.
If I could create a shape and make people believe it, and then therefore, supplement my power, because obviously these people believe they can't go anywhere, I could create any freaking movie I wanted on this shape that they believe they live in, such as PSYOP, such as Northwoods, 911, Gulf of Tonkin, everything. Couldn't I? We just create this movie for these folks who are no longer interested in where they live or whatever. They're happy, content. Give them their money, give them their food, water, make them pay for it. Man, I could create just a worldwide movie.
Yeah, military call it theater. So yeah, not too off there. And what about you, Plain Truth?
What's the question for me?
Oh, just the shape of the Earth may not be a globe. How vitriol has it been that once you've stated you've become a flat earther? Do you think it's the worst thing as far as how people perceive you?
Yeah, I had a really close friend from high school just completely come after me and accuse me of lying. He said, "You're lying. You don't believe this." I think that he couldn't believe that someone would believe it, but then for him to say that I'm intentionally not he wasn't saying you're trying to trick us or you're just playing a joke on us or it's not April Fool's, so what are you doing? He said you're lying. And I just sat there, I'm like, why is he so adamant? I mean, and why is he saying it in this way? But the more that we talked, the more he attacked my my psychological profile, basically ended up accusing me of being mentally unstable, of needing mental help. And yeah, I'm like, man, you need to stop gaslighting me and trying to manipulate me by appealing to my emotions and my mental state. And he just wouldn't. So I blocked him and friended him. I just completely cut off all ties. And so, but that was last year. Since then, I have friends who will very, very loosely interact every once in a while if something piques their interest. But for the most part, like today I was on Jose's channel. The
Well done, by
most
the way.
Oh, thanks. Most of the hostility comes from those guys, and yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. It's not in my makeup to attack someone's character and their mental stability if I disagree with them. As much as I feel like I might have grounds to, I just wouldn't go after a person that way.
Yeah.
Can I comment? I'm
Yeah.
sorry for cutting you off, Travis, and getting back to you, Ivan. I didn't know the actual question, but my mom, 70 years old, actually introduced me to the idea. She goes, "What would you think if the Earth was flat?" And I said, "Mom," right? We're standing outside the garage. I remember the freaking day, time, temperature, everything, because it's that, shocking. And so I went to prove her wrong. I went and started with the basics, flight pass, all this stuff. And I came back to her 3 days later. I said, "Mom."
You froze. Just as he was getting to the good
I,
part. Wait,
we're in this together.
can you repeat that? Because you kind of froze, and once you said "mom,"
It was just, the hairs stand up on your arm, and like, no way. Well, she hasn't done as much research as me since then. She's older and she's more worried about politics and all the, taxes and her bank account with that. And so, but she's always open to talk about it. Now, the vitriol, we don't talk about it with my sisters, my dad, cousins, nobody, because you can't. Like Travis is saying, you'll lose these people, and we need these people. You know,
mm-hmm.
it's a hard road to go down. But the more info we know, and let's just say in the end, when it's true, we can help them out. Right? We'll help them with their mental state once they have to realize it's true. So.
Eagle Plane and Anchor says, yeah, vaccines also can get you blacklisted, and that was on my list, but I just want to keep it at 5. But I mean, there's plenty more. I think I can do like an update maybe in future sometime. And pretty much what I like to say is all of these things, even with the vaccine one, even with what was, gosh, I can't even remember number 5. The Holocaust could maybe, just to entertain the possibility, might not have happened the way it went. Same thing with 9/11. Mass shootings could possibly, at least one of them maybe, could be a psyop. The moon hoax, the moon landing could have been a hoax, and the shape of the Earth may not be a globe. All of this, and why that there's such vitriol towards even just mentioning these topics or questioning, it all gets down to governments have been and still are lying to the people, because these are all government controlled, not just one government, but many governments together.
I have a great way to stop all that.
All right, shoot.
Take away the money. right, Bum? You pay taxes, I pay taxes, Travis pays taxes. You take away the money, folks will start talking about what is true, what's not true. You take away the money, the truth always comes out. Truth is money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's too many folks that love their servitude. For example, my parents, right? They've paid over, you know, who knows how many millions of dollars over their whole fucking lifetime to a government that feeds them propaganda through all these stories that you just mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the moon landing to Northwoods, all the way up to 9/11, all that shit. And they have to believe it because they paid for it, you know. But if you take away the money, the truth comes out. But the problem is nobody will ever do that. We can't convince the 300 million Americans to stop paying taxes.
Yeah. And in regards to that, it's also like because they've been paying into it and so invested into it, that to tell them that they've just kind of unknowingly kind of kept it going, uh, may just kind of dawn on them that they've been a major part of the problem too, just not even questioning. And I don't think a lot of people are prepared to that, to even accept accountability of.
Yeah, it's a mental. Basically, they have to crack their own head open.
Yeah.
Say, I was fooled, right?
Yeah.
Basically, and folks are super happy and content to keep on paying and doing what they're doing. My folks are, let's say, doing well. You know, the system is okay for folks that work hard and save money and do all the shit. So it's not like a bad thing to be in the system. But if you, if we try to tell them, man, the system fucked,
Yeah.
fucked, they won't. Their mind won't let them do it, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, my position on it is okay. Let's just talk about our government, the United States, and let's talk about, okay, have they ever lied to the American people or done something that they that they've that they said they weren't doing and they ended up doing? Pretty sure everyone in the U.S. would at
I'm a
least say yeah,
They have never lied, right?
yeah,
So there's one position. I'm a military member. I've served. They've never lied. What do you say?
yeah, and or the second position I would say that they would take is, yeah, they might have lied, but it was for a good cause and for a good
Yeah.
reason. They would try to defend whatever bad that the America did, to justify their actions, regardless if the end result was good or bad.
Means, what do you call that? Means, goals, whatever. Right? The means, meet the ends.
The ends justify the means.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Travis, what are your thoughts?
I don't think I have anything to contribute other than to ask Aaron maybe if he could flesh out the connection with if if you took away money, how would that shed light on reality coming to
Okay.
light?
My idea is if you stop paying a contractor to do work, he'll stop doing that work. Obviously, he's like, you owe me money, or he'll just stop.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. That totally makes sense. Okay.
But it's always been a war of attrition on our end, the people's end. They just keep taking, and they just write it out. They control all the resources, so we can't really do a war of attrition on them. They've got the money, they've got the resources, they got the power to protect those resources and prevent. Go ahead.
Here's my point. Sorry to cut you off, Ibam, but here's my point: is then they'll have to admit that they're printing their own money, right? If we take away our GDP, our tax base from the government, and we can survive every freaking day, of course we can. then they'll have to admit, if the government keeps running, that they're printing their own money. That will kind of be the turntables of even the Federal Reserve argument, where, oh, they just print free money. Well, no, they don't. It's based on American dollar, oil, blah blah blah. You know, it'll be a situation where someone will have to say something. You know, because, well, first of all, dude, why do we give 30% of our time and labor to some folks that we never know, never met, never will meet, and they live in suits and mansions in a faraway city? Why do we do this? Right?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we've kind of gone through all the motions and looked at all the official stories, the documentations, the conspiracy theories. We kind of looked everywhere because, I mean, we're just hungry to know what's going on, and a lot of people don't have that time. They don't have that drive. They're okay with where they're at. Again, there's a level of comfort that that the system provides for people, and if people are comfortable, they don't want to change anything. And I think I think if you did do that, yeah, it does get people out of their comfort zone. But then, would they go the other way? I mean, a lot of people spent a lot of time and money going, paying into the system to be where they're at. We pretty much won't get the doctors, the lawyers, the people who've been in, gotten their masters and their doctorates, and all of that, who are probably making six figures. I mean, it's a very, very uphill battle.
It is, if we continue to feed the system. You
Mm-hmm.
know, definitely an uphill battle. When you continue to feed your enemy and he keeps fighting back, like you said, doctors and lawyers, they feed on, first of all, our money. Second of all, they create issues like uh, the vaccination issue. Let's just say the flu. Oh, apparently, the flu is this huge fucking big deal. Lawyers, all they do is work for the state, right? We're subsidizing them, public defenders, all this stuff. And so, yeah, I'm with you. It's like I feel a roadblock, but at the same time, if we can talk about it and realize it together, possibly we
Yeah.
could just talk about it. Gee whiz,
Yeah. And the reason why I did this particular on topic episode is that, um, to get to this point, we almost, I mean, we have to admit and be honest with ourselves. And personally, I would pretty much say every one of these things that we discussed, I'm pretty much on the opposite side of what the official narrative is. But again, I don't have any proof to provide anyone. All I could do is provide lies that have occurred from the official side of it.
yeah,
And
because you didn't create it, right?
yeah,
We didn't create it; they did.
and to be attacked just to, I mean, it's like killing the messenger, right? We're just the messengers. We're just saying, hey, this, what they're saying, it's a lie, and here we could prove the lie part. We can't prove any other part that the opposite is true. We can just show what the lies are. But people won't even just look at that part. They won't even say I they can't, well, they won't say I agree with you. They just say I don't even want to look. And that's the hard part. We're all blacklisted, if not formally but informally, by people who already have assumptions
A
about people who
Well, they have
think
a
or talk this
confident
way.
assumption, right? They are so sure that the Gulf of Tonkin happened exactly the way they heard it on the news. The Vietnam War, or even World War One, World War Two, the Holocaust, 9/11. They're so confident, and and here's our problem, like you were just saying, is there's 100 people around them that believe the same thing.
Yeah.
And they will band together, whether they believe it or not. Remember, there's probably 10% of that group that's probably questionable.
Mm-hmm.
But once the group starts chanting, 911 was real, 911 was real, they will join in, and they like mentally, like you said earlier, even they can't change their mind. They won't do it
Yeah.
for you and me. Just
Mhm.
for one guy standing out there, they won't do it.
Yeah. I wonder if now because I keep thinking, all right, why don't we just reverse the perception if we can? But it seems that's almost a monumental um task as just getting I mean everything just seems like a monumental task because it's been going on for so long and there's so much power.
But Avon, it's not that it's been going on for so long. It's that the minds that have been through that have accepted it, and
Yeah.
that's my mom, my dad, your sister, my sister, Travis's sister. Plain truth. And like you said about your question about the vitriol is, you can't even go to your own family member and ask a question. They will kick you out of your house, out of their house. Right? I'm at a family reunion. They will boot me if I say, "Hey guys, I kind of think the moon landing was not real." What? Right?
Hmm.
And that's the problem. Our own family. Isn't there Travis? Sorry, Ebon, but
That's fine.
Travis, is there a verse? We don't have to get biblical or nothing, but
Yeah,
about the
I
enemy
think
lies.
I think it's Matthew 10:28. It's even the even a man's own family. I'm butchering it. Even a man's enemy he will discover is his own family. Something like that.
The truth
Yeah.
lies within.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't bring it
Yvonne,
out.
if you're interested, I think that would be one of the things that you said in your last statement made me think of my friend's text that I sent to you. I think that would be an interesting segue if you wanted to go off in a different direction, or we can kind of respond to what he said. Because I invited him to have this discussion, and he responded pretty strongly. He's totally into flat Earth. He's totally into debunking NASA. But he grew up in a conspiratorial household where it just tore his family apart, and so he tore his family apart because they tried to change the way things are. They tried to address the government and take them on, and he just saw the futility of it. So when I asked him to come on and participate, he's like, I am not going to get involved in that. I saw it happen with my own eyes, and I have no interest in being a part of that discussion.
Sorry, I was muted. All right, let me just start over again. So,
You were
I just muted on my OBS just so I mute
okay.
myself so that everyone can hear you guys better. So
No worries.
the movie Gattaca, and again, is one of my favorite movies. And it's a sci-fi in space, not necessarily in space. It's about someone who wants to be an astronaut and travel to these distant planets or satellites to explore and do research. The thing is, it's in this dystopian future where although you can argue that it's a utopian future when you first glance at it. That they're creating the perfect human beings. You know, you can configure it. You know, make sure that they're the IQ of the baby is just going to be the highest it can be, and you can, you know, the life is going to be a lot longer because they're just not going to get as sick and stuff like that. So, you know, all the babies are kind of genetically engineered in the lab. And well, the thing is the main character, he is one of the ones who are just naturally born, and none of that was adjusted because they didn't have any of that technology at that point. But then his younger brother, you know, was genetically engineered to be pretty much the best he can be as far as the genes are concerned from the mother and the father. Well, anyways, the older brother, who's naturally born, wants to be an astronaut, and the thing is, he has bad eyesight. He's not tall enough, or you know, he just doesn't fit the bill. He's gonna die. He has a weak heart and all this other stuff. Except he fakes someone else's identity, where he was also the person who he's faking the identity. He ended up having a car accident, but he was also one of these really, really, really top of the crop genetically engineered humans. But who's just, you know, he's just, it's all fake. You know, he doesn't want to go through the whole motions of, you know, and so, you know, basically he's crippled in a wheelchair, and of course he can't do it. So he gets paid allowances by Ethan Hawke, who's the main character, the naturally born older brother. And the older brother, he's, you know, he fakes everything. Like he's running on a treadmill, and he has to control his heartbeat, and then afterwards you just see him just kind of collapse. But he's putting on a show just to fake that he's capable enough, and he studies hard enough where he can pass all the exams, you know, without making any mistakes. And his younger brother ends up being like a private investigator, and or part of the investigation team that's within the government or something. But he finds out that his older brother is still alive, and he's faking the identity in order to go to space, and he calls him out on it, and they go swimming, because what they used to do is they went swimming as far as they could, and then back, and you know, whoever was up, yeah, just to see who can do it. And the older brother always won, even though he wasn't the genetically perfect human. And then like his older brother saved the younger brother when they were young and tried doing that. So they did again. You know, the younger brother says, "Hey, if you beat me, you know, I won't tell. And if I beat you, I'm telling everyone that, you know, you're faking everything, and tell them who you really are." And so they race swimming, you know, and the younger brother loses. He's almost about to drown, and he goes, "Hey, how can you do this? How are you able to do all of this?" And basically Ethan Hawke, the main character, goes, "I never saved anything for the trip back." And you have to have that mentality if you're just going to go as far as you can. And it's like a sacrifice of sorts, but it doesn't have to be. It just depends on what situation happens. But just that mentality, it can get you a lot further than you just realize halfway that you're not going to make it. But then, you know, if you reach deep down, you just think about the one step at a time. You don't think about the mountain that's in front of you. You just think about the step in front of you, and then the next step as it happens. And you know, it's that type of mentality. So it's a tough one. But the thing is, we're not going to change anything with the mentality that we're not going to be able to change anything, right? So my mentality has to be.
What if we can't, though? Ebon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost and came back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to cut you off. Finish.
No, go ahead.
But what if we can change our step-by-step mentality, right? Just single, you. I don't want to use the word individual because that's a legal word, which ties you to a whole bunch of shit. But what about our single step-by-step, our life, step-by-step? And what I mean is, what if you didn't take the 25 steps into that government office to create yourself a resident, right? Would you still be able to exist outside that building? 24 steps back, you have water, power, friends, food, all that shit. But once we take certain steps, um, and I'm trying to bring your movie analogy, which is great, back down to my life. Let's say mine. What if I didn't uh, go sign my name to a piece of government paper? Would my life be different? Or
Yeah,
what if I did do certain things, especially into a government office, right? I'm okay with going to a utility office, a water district, getting water, power, all that stuff. That's great. But what if I didn't title myself as a contractor? What if I didn't actually walk into their office and say, I'm a contractor? Well, when you do, you have to pay contractor fees, you got inspections, you got all this slew of the county shit that has to happen before I can even do my job. But if I didn't do that, could I still do my job? Right?
yeah. I mean, to that point, like I've been thinking of just doing things just donation only. It's not even charge, and just see if I could go get through it that way. But another thing that I thought of just when I talk to someone else is like from your day to day activities, how often do you need federal assistance? And some people, it's a lot. Some people are disabled, and some of that stuff should be around for them. But majority of people who don't have any disabilities and things like that, they don't interact with. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, locally, I agree with you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
locally,
Yep.
we can provide a fund for if we're going to be here for a while and we have, older folks, especially my parents. Why not have the younger generation support a fund locally, but not federally? Gee whiz.
Yeah.
That's 4,000 miles away. What the fuck?
It's too
How do we
big.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too big, out of control. We can't even audit what someone else is doing in another town in a different state, county and state.
Exactly.
But we can always audit our own, and we don't have to waste a lot of resources. We don't have to have so much bureaucracy in order to just, and imagine where a lot of it's getting funneled to just one specific town or something. It's like, why do they get so much of it? And what they do is they just.
But that's how it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, if you ask your parents, probably wherever they grew up, locally, we all supported each other. The idea in America was states were independent. We had independent counties, cities, whatever. And for a long time, we took care of each other from 1776 to 1861. And then there was this idea for we need a federal government, right? And that federal government moved into your mom's land or the people's land there
Mm-hmm.
through the transportation system. The highways moved in, commerce moved in, and thank God, gee whiz, instead of having to grow your own garden, you can go to uh, the little store and buy tomatoes. You didn't have to grow them. It was a great thing. However, it was an intrusion on your life, those folks' life, which we are bearing now. By everything now is an intrusion by the federal government on our life. Whether it's if I go to Walmart or not, I have to have federal stickers on my car. Like what the hell? I can't carry a gun, even though their law says that Second Amendment, freedom to carry, blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting confronted by you can call it federal police, even though they're municipality, they're funded by the feds.
Yep.
And even municipality police. I live in a town of 2,000 people, and there's 8 cops with brand new Ford Explorers. Like, how much crime is going on in a town of 2,000? All they do is sit out on the highway and just bust people. That's all they do. Sit on the highway and bust for speeding. There's no crime going on. Everyone lives here is like old, let's say.
Yeah.
And but they get funded. Every state gets funded by the feds, and that funding gets passed down to the municipalities, even down to the smallest, what we call a city, uh, in the country. And that's an incentive. Okay, so our tax money starts at the top,
Mhm.
goes up to the Fed, and it gets filtered back down to bust me.
Yeah. You know what's funny is if you just count just the amount the town that receives in that trickle down, I guess you could say, is that if they
Mhm.
just didn't give all that money to the feds to get just that little bag, they would realize that they actually had, probably 10 to 28 times that amount that they could spend on their local
Yeah,
system, their local
exactly.
government.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, and they run for election every year, whatever it is around here. Local mayors and city managers, and you know, it's like when I see all my sister and my dad and mom go to vote, and I'm like, why would you ever vote for someone to control you?
Yeah.
Right? This guy's gonna write laws,
And
local law, ordinances, right, that are gonna control you. Go ahead.
yeah. Um yeah.
Voting is a big thing, right? Like, why would you ever vote for someone that's the very nature of their position is to write a law to control you,
Yeah.
or limit you, not control. Let's just say limit, because that's all they do is limit us. They always put caps on everything. You can do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why vote? See this?
Yeah, there's someone that I hope to have on soon, Deb Della Piana, who's trying to spearhead an obstructive vote type of thing. Is just don't vote. Just have massive or movements of just people not voting, and maybe just uh I don't know. I don't know what her full plan is. I mean, my idea is just not vote either, but just tell people I'm not voting, but not really spearheading any type of movement towards not voting.
Yeah,
um,
I don't vote. I tell my sister, I ask her, why are you voting? So you're paying this guy out of your pocket through your taxes, a guy you're voting for, and all he's going to do is write laws to limit you. And he goes, no. She's like, no, he's going to create freedom. What? Create freedom? He's going to limit the laws. He's going to change the law. All right, sis. Tell me when that has ever happened.
yeah, but that's the thing. Last night that I was working on is the politics has always been going on, especially when you're talking about state or federal wide levels of voting. Is people have wanted to solve all these problems for decades. Does the majority of the population really think that George H.W. or George Bush or Clinton or Obama or Trump have been just great presidents? No. I mean, they go, when was the last great president? At the least, they would say JFK. But even JFK made a lot of mistakes. But then again, he was also assassinated, so maybe he was doing something right or going to do something right. And
Yeah, but he wasn't assassinated by the people,
yeah, he
right?
wasn't.
Yeah, he was assassinated by the corporation, let's say.
Mhm.
So that says a lot. It's not like they've tried to blame it on Lee Harvey, but if You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If the people want to kill somebody, there's like 300 million of us. We could kill somebody, guaranteed. We don't do that because there's no need,
Yeah.
right?
We're really a peaceful, everyone around the world pretty much is pretty peaceful. I mean,
Yeah.
it just something has to trigger someone in order for them to just get so angry that they can't even think straight.
Especially if you'd actually kill someone else, we get in fights, we do all that stuff, but to actually take a man's life, that's we normal people don't do that.
Yeah.
However, we see in the news every day of mass murders, everybody going down. Holy shit, cop
Yeah.
murders, cops being shot by people, but there's no proof of it. Right? There's no evidence of it, and
Instead we see the opposite. We see a lot of statistics where cops are shooting people, and it's like, what? Why? There's even a video that surfaced today. Someone was just filming a police officer in Chicago, Illinois, and saying, "He's like, why are you so angry?" And pushed him away, knocked his phone camera or whatever down.
yeah,
Yeah.
de-escalate, cop. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your job. De-escalate situation first of all. Assess and de-escalate. That's their job.
Yeah.
But all they do is run up, pull guns, tasers, tell you commands, get on the ground, even though, you're not doing nothing, let's say. And you see videos of that all day. So you do watch those YouTube videos of, police activity, First Amendment, all that stuff. Yeah. Those are great ones.
I have so many subscriptions on channels that I don't really have time to watch them all, but sometimes they'll filter through with the screenshot and the title, and I'll just take a quick look and see how long it is. That's probably why a lot of people don't watch me. They just look at my videos like 4 hours. I can't watch this for 4 hours. But yeah.
But if they did, that's the mindset too. Right?
Yeah.
If they did just take 4 hours of their whole life, the whole thing up until now, and you're just asking for 4 hours, and they won't do it, right?
Yeah, I'm just asking them to think, and that's why I love getting quotes from, like when you see my quotes of the day, and sometimes I reuse them. People who don't know that what's his name? Why am I even forgetting? Richard Feynman. He's just a very, very kind of well-known theoretical physicist.
Yeah.
And he even says, a very important quote, and he was good about everything, even though I might not have agreed with him and stuff. But, his quote is, "I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned."
That's a bingo fucking statement right there.
Yeah.
That is a bingo statement. I've heard it before, and that is the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. I mean, think about that. The gravity of that. That's the wrong word. But
so
go ahead.
Oh no, it's just and just think about it. When we're the thing is the system that seems to pervade through government and banking industries and corporations and the media and propaganda. They need division, right? They need people to fight against each other and stuff like that. But the thing is, then you look at us. A lot of us that are just kind of, we see what's going on. We're basically taking a step back. We're outside of the system, looking in, and there's just everyone out there. I mean, just like I talk with white guys who are in the South, where people would say that they're just racist, Nazis, etc. I talk with black women. I talk with Hispanic people. I talk with people outside the country. It's just a whole array of people, and we're all just trying to unite rather than try to divide. And maybe that's the way we eventually win. We just get enough people from different backgrounds just uniting and say, hey, you really want to see diversity in action? Here we are. You know, you guys keep trying to divide everyone. We just really want to unite people and just take control of our lives and not have people we don't know take control of it.
The system that you talk about, that I know about, and hopefully folks that are listening to your show are starting to realize or have realized, it's a great system. Right? The law is written correctly. The law is written correctly. Black letter law is written down perfectly. We have the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of search and seizure, freedom of illegal, right? We have all the rights written down. And if you look at your state law, it's also written down correctly. Even the statutes. Statutes are different than rights, but it's state written. And it's actually written correctly. However, when money becomes an issue where we can control the people and what they do most. What do these people do the most? Well, they travel. They move. They move about. They go from here to there. Right? So, all is written correctly as far as, let's say, stickers or tags on your car. And we all believe we have to have that. But the law says only if you're doing a certain action, which is transportation or commerce. You may have heard these arguments. However, when you test that and go in front of a fucking judge that 18 charges against me, he slammed me with all 18. And I asked him, at what point was I involved in the law, commerce, or transportation? Transporting persons or property. And he goes, don't bring the law into my court. So what do we do?
It's getting hard to hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, what do we do at that point? When our most let me ask you, Ivan, what contact have you ever had with the government? Let's say contact, not voluntarily, not you walking to them, but them walking to you or stopping you or doing something.
I got visited by the FBI a couple months ago.
And what was their?
They're asking if everything was all right.
What does that mean?
So I made statements like, look, I'm going to defend my right to that I have, and I'm not going to commit any violence. But if that violence is done to me, I don't know how I'm not going to limit myself in order to protect me and those that I love.
I'll protect me and my space and my property.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the other part is I was also working for an activist group called Unity for J. So they're kind of uniting together to hopefully free Julian Assange.
What was the FBI's claim when they came here to it?
They said they got a call, and I asked them who did they get a call from, and they refused to answer. They also asked them if basically I asked them some questions, and they didn't really answer.
Tell them get off your property if they're not answering questions.
Yeah. Right? But that's the first time. I'm pretty friendly. I don't really, I don't think there's anything done against me. But I talked with Susie Dawson, and she's going, if the feds show up again, don't say anything. Just say, hey, talk to my lawyer. Don't say anything. They ask you questions, just say, I plead the fifth, or using my constitutional right not to talk, and I'm not going to say anything.
I don't know. I might want to hear what they want to ask.
Yeah.
Right.
So same thing with me. And I'm just going to say everything I needed to say is on that video. And the reason why I carefully choose my words. Is so. I mean, I have so many things that I say, and I do a lot of videos, and as long as I speak truthfully, and I don't have to remember what I said, but all I have to just say, hey, I have my videos. You have access to it. It's public, and you guys could watch it. And
And plus, just you have done nothing wrong. Just remember that.
yeah. And so
So
I just say go review what I said. That's I don't have to rehash it.
even when a badge shows up, we get nervous. We get, little hair on our arms stand up, and we're like, oh fuck, I did something wrong. But believe you me, you did nothing wrong. They are out there to make sure that they can scare you, right?
Yeah.
That government does. It's all about fear, government, mind, and so I wouldn't mind hearing what they had to say. Just let them ask questions. Say, hold on, let me get a notebook and write them down. I want to hear your questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll answer you. Give me an email. I'll answer your questions. Via electronic mail or whatever. Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah, don't speak there on the spot because
Yeah. But that was my first time really interacting, and I feel like the stuff that I do isn't really out there. It's just, hey, we have this thing called First Amendment. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm not committing violence. I don't plan on committing violence. I also I'm not suicidal. I don't plan on killing myself. So if you see me in the water somewhere, and I'm a very good swimmer, all these types of things that I repeat every now and then, just get it out there. And people will still consider me as dangerous, as violent. And I'm like, okay, I'll bet you have a record of violence that's bigger than mine. Anyone who calls me violent, I'll wager that there are incidents in your record of violence
that judging you probably have domestic abuse charges from before, stuff like that. Maybe not serious, but just domestic abuse calls or something. The people that are judging you are not clean.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
All right, so this is kind of it. It's an hour and 20 minutes. I didn't really have anything planned additionally tonight. I mean, if you guys want to keep talking, we could do something off topic, just talk about anything, or if you guys wanted to focus on something like I know Travis, you were mentioning with your friend with that quote. Although we kind of hashed on it on this episode just because it's kind of relates.
Yeah. No, I was actually going to say I was going to head off to bed, so it's fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that's good way to end it. And if you guys want to do a certain topic like we were considering, like just last night's stuff, just let me know when's a good day out of the week, or 2 days out of the week or something. And or eventually, if you get your channel up, Travis, you can have those conversations there, and I'll stop by and be a part of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Excuse me. I mean, I think more channels, the better. That way, if you can get your subscriptions up and get live streaming all set up and super chats or whatever, every little bit helps along the way, type of thing. And it's just hard. I mean, if they stop my channel, my backup channel, there's other platforms, but then there's also your channel that people can go to,
Yep, most definitely.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, Travis, though, for kind of pushing you out. You invited me.
I'm not talking to you right now.
It's okay. I do have one saying that I'd like to leave a show with and leave my mind with is, what if there was a good reason for the globe? What if there was a good reason for the globe?
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's a good one to think on for another episode too. Port Film Co-op wants me to quickly rehash the 5 things on the list, so I'm just gonna do that real quick. Number 5 is that the Holocaust might not have happened. Number 4 is 9/11 didn't happen the way the official story says it did. Number 3 would be mass shootings could be psyops. Number 2 is moon landings could have been a hoax. Number 1 is the shape of the Earth may not be a globe. And all of that kind of boils down to one related factor is that governments have been, still are lying to the people. And again, I'm not saying that any of those are, I'm saying just the possibility that they could not be what the official story is. And that really gets people blacklisted from certain organizations, but also informally by people where they just they've got assumptions of someone who might say, hey, or questioning just the narrative, the official narrative. So that's it. Again, thank you, Travis and Aaron, for coming on, joining me on this, so I don't have to do it alone. And everyone else watching, thank you for watching. And for a lot of people who support me, the $2 is great. That'll help me. And Mia, my army are in the Panhandle, $200. Was it last night, two nights ago? Things go by so fast. 2 nights ago, and that is just amazing. I was kind of speechless. But yeah, it's it's just the support, and the thing is, we need to support each other and just keep trying to get people united and realizing what's going on and stuff that's going on that's not good. There's a reason why it's not good, and hopefully that together we'll figure it all out.
Build it, we will come.
Yeah. Field of Dreams reference for people who aren't moviegoers. All right, thanks. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Ivan. All right, later next time.